everyone, welcome back to Vegan 101. I'm Stephanie. I'm on the video team at Mercy for Animals. In today's episode, we will be talking to Melina, who lives at home as a vegetarian and her family is not vegetarian. So Melina, we're just going to ask you a few questions about like how it is living in a house with a family that is not vegetarian. Actually, I think you said your sister is vegetarian, but your mom is not.
Yes, correct. My mom has not like fully said yes to being vegetarian, but it's slowly getting there after a few years. Okay. Slowly.
When you first went vegetarian, did you have a talk with your mom or your sisters and say like, okay, this is how I'm gonna eat now? Or like, how did that go?
Yes and no. In a sense, like my younger sister went vegetarian a few years back and she sat all of us down and it was like, hey, I don't want to eat meat anymore. And that was a little shock, a shock for everyone. But after that, my older sister went vegetarian and it was like, okay, everyone knows about vegetarian and like what vegetarian is at that point. And then I was the last one to say, okay, now I'll leave the meat. And so that was just like a normal conversation for my mom and I. I was just like, hey mom, like I can't eat that anymore. And she's like, why? It's like, you haven't left meat, so you're the last one. And I was like, okay. I was like, yesterday I left meat. Like I no longer eat any of that. And it was kind of, it was a good day. Like she just ended up switching the, what she was gonna cook that day. So she was kind of supportive about it and she's been supportive now.
Okay, probably because your sisters were already vegan, so they kind of like set the path for you.
Like they were vegetarian, so they were fine with that. But like I guess with the vegan talk, it's more of, we need more details, we need more like, I guess we all need to like sit down and actually have that conversation, which we've had a few, but it's been a little hard for my mom. Yeah,
I bet. Okay, so since you live with your mom, does your mom make your meals or did you have to start cooking your own meals? How did that work?
Yeah, for a long time she was making my meals and then I kind of felt like I should start because there was a lot of things I didn't really like. And we both started cooking our lunch at night together. So we both like would get up really early in the mornings. So instead, like that following night, we would just kind of like break down what we wanted to eat and we would share meals. So sometimes she would make something, she's like, I think you should try it. And then I would be like, okay, maybe you should try this. So we were kind of backing each other up for a long time. And even now, like I feel like we still do that, but she definitely wants to learn more. So she's been like trying to make more meals for us. And now that my sister's back home from break, she's been trying to like feed both of us. And she's like, okay, eat this, like maybe you're gonna like it. And some of it we grew up with, so we're kind of like familiar with it. But we all like sit down and like kind of break down the ingredients and why we consume what we consume. So it's been a good journey because we kind of get like we get more time to talk and we get more connections with her because a lot of it was like it connects to my grandma as well.
So do you guys actually like sit and talk about like this is why we don't eat it, or does she already kind of get it by now and like does she kind of push back still?
At times, there's times where she's like, but sometimes you do need it because of your protein, and it goes back to that. And we've had a lot of those conversations, but then I kind of asked her as well, like, well, when you were growing up, how much meat did you consume? And then she would talk about like how eating meat when she was growing up was like a privilege because a lot of it was expensive or it was just like too much for the family to have. So then she would break it down with us and we would kind of talk about the fact that it ties into, I guess, like how like we've changed throughout the years. So she's been a little bit more understanding in a sense. So like I guess the conversations at times do become too like repetitive for her. So she's like, okay, now I get it, or now I wanna understand it more. So she'll do her research on her own. And sometimes it opens a lot of conversation, which is good.
Yeah. That's good that she would even start like looking into it on her own. Or so you guys talk about like you go way back to like how food started and like what like your ancestors would be eating and like they weren't eating a lot of meat and they were mostly eating plants and stuff like that. So
yes. yeah, a lot of it we tie back to like how my grandma raised them, and then how there was a difference when like money came into hand, and then we kind of expressed that with her side of the family, which is like because a lot of my aunts like do like to cook for us, and like we get together on the weekends and we do a lot of that. And so there's a lot of conversation starters for all of us to bring up, and a lot of my aunts like do also go through like their experiences, and they talk about, oh yeah, like I remember growing up we used to eat this and we didn't eat like a lot of meat. And then it was like, I guess then it opens a lot of questions for them, and it's helped. Again, like we have more, I guess, more in common than we thought. But yeah.
Will they make you vegan options? Like if you guys are all getting together on weekends to eat, will they ever adjust anything for you?
Yes, my aunt, who's usually the host of our get-togethers, has made us like veggie lasagna, because my younger sister used to love that growing up. She used to love her lasagna, so now like even for Thanksgiving she made her like lasagna, and then she's tried to like make more salads in a sense, or like they try to give us as many like vegetarian options as possible. When it comes to like veganism, they're starting to talk more about it. They ask more questions, but they also like question like what they should make.
Right.
So it's been hard.
Because you're vegetarian right
Yes,
now, right?
yeah.
And then working your way to vegan.
Yes. And
Yeah, that's good. So like my aunts, one of them always makes rice, one of them always makes beans, and my aunt finally, after like 15 years, was like, oh, I made the rice vegan for you. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? And then sometimes they'll make the beans like, oh, I left the lard or like the meat out of the beans for you. And I was like, oh my gosh, I never thought I would see the day.
Yes.
And like even on Christmas, my grandma was like, oh, I made you something vegan. And we're like, what is it? She's like, I don't know what it's called, but it's vegan. I was like, I'll take it. Thank you.
Yeah.
So there's hope. It took
Yes,
like
yes.
15 years, but
Yeah.
you have to be patient.
Patience, yes.
Okay, so culturally, are there any foods that your family is used to making, like your grandmother or anything, where you feel like it's really hard for you not to eat those things? What do you do in those kinds of situations?
Yeah, my family's from Oaxaca, so a lot of our dishes like have a lot of quesillo, which is cheese, and that's been a little hard. We use a lot of like chorizo and stuff, and I guess like soy chorizo has become like my mom's like thing to pick up. Like she'll be like, okay, now it has to be soy.
I know some people who like that better than the regular one anyway.
Yes. My cousins are actually like, oh, I actually pick up like soy chorizo now because I like it better.
I have a lot of friends who are not vegan or vegetarian and they eat that instead.
Yeah, it's funny to see it come around. But yeah, like I guess a few of my mom's dishes, she's tried to make it as vegan as possible. Like instead of using regular sour cream, we use like the cashew cream, and then we haven't found like an actual like quesillo alternative, but there's times where I'm like, okay, maybe I just want quesillo, but if like we don't have to eat it, then I don't eat it, or I'll just tell them like, no thank you, which like at first was like a shocker for them. They started getting used to it. There's times where they already just don't add meat to it, so I guess like my sisters and I, they already know like if they're gonna serve us something, it doesn't have to have meat. And it did take them a while, but after like opening up conversation, they got used to it, and it's been okay. Like I feel like a lot of things, like again, my grandma raised them without having too much meat in the house, so at this point they wanted to like, I guess, spoil us with a lot of meat. So I was like, but now we want to go back to no meat, so it took them a while. Yeah, it took them a while.
So meat's probably easier. Meat's usually easier for people to kind of swap out or leave out, but like for dairy and cheese, are they still finding that hard? Like if your grandma makes something, like do you and your sisters just go ahead and eat it, or do you like talk to her about it, or how does that work?
We talk, we try to talk to her as much as possible when it comes to like my mom making something. Like for me, I always have like almond milk or like coconut milk at home, and my older sister as well. But my younger sister was just like, I don't like it. Like she's like, I still want my milk. And so we're just like, okay. And I try to like never have it at home, but now that she's home for break, my mom buys it for her. So that's been a little hard. But my mom does understand. She's like, okay, now I know why. And like my mom had to like always have alternative milk at home because my older sister never really liked milk. So in a sense that like we kind of grew up with that being something regular at home. But then my aunts at times don't like really understand it, so they'll bring like regular ice cream and stuff, and we forget because again we're not vegan, so it's like we'll be like, okay, but we do want ice cream on this dessert, so we'll grab it. But then it's like later on we're just like, oh no, that does not go well. So it's been a little hard, but they're again slowly trying to do it, because I do have a cousin who's not vegetarian or vegan, but always finds like an alternative for ice cream because she likes it. And then she loves the vegan desserts that I buy, and she's like, take me there, like I want some. And it's also because she's lactose intolerant, so she's just like, just grab me all of the vegan desserts you can. So she's been kind of like more supportive. And so then her mom sees that, and then that's when her mom decides to like try to make as many dishes that she can with anything that can substitute a regular meal in her house. So it's been a little challenging, but still a little, like, I guess with patience you get a lot of other things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it sounds like for the most part you guys don't eat any meat, or you absolutely don't eat any meat, but then sometimes if there's like something that your family made that has dairy in it and you're just eating, like you'll still eat it sometimes here and there. But you also do talk to your family like, oh, if you can find a dairy substitute for this, like for next time or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard to like, it's hard in the beginning. It's really hard when you're not like 100%, when you're not used to it, and it's like a new way of eating, and like your family doesn't get it, and they're not going to go out of their way to make something different. So like it's tricky.
It is.
And just because like you eat something with dairy doesn't mean like the world ended, but like your body does pay for it later. And then you think, okay, I'm not going to do that again next time. Does your family ever give you a hard time or like tease you about not eating meat or not eating dairy?
Yes. In a sense, like my cousins aren't vegetarian or vegan, and we have a lot of them. And I think it gets to the point where they're like, oh, well, you're always eating healthy, like what, like I would never go like vegan. And I laugh about that because that used to be me with my sisters. I'm like, I can't leave my meat, like I just can't. And I was the last one to come around, but I still came around, you get me? Like a lot of my cousins say that, and they're like, well, all three of you, you know, you're a little picky, la 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 la. But in a sense, like, you know, and that's what I noticed, like if you have the dishes, they'll try to like, you know, pick at it. They're like, okay, let me try it and let's see what's good. So a lot of them have been a little open to it. They do tease here and there. With me, it'll be because I do want to go vegan in the long run. They're like, well, you know, you're the only one that's gonna go there. So they try to like comfort me. Even at home, like my mom will be like, oh, well, at the end of the day, you're the only vegan. So like they'll try to throw some jokes around. But again, my older sister's kind of also like wanting to go vegan. Like she's talked about it, but we haven't like actually done everything to go vegan. So I guess like it's just her and I. So they kind of like try to, I guess, punk on us, but we don't really let them. But yeah.
I have a handful of people too in my family. Like I've been vegan, full vegan for like 9 years, and my grandpa will still say like, are you sure you don't want this burger? Are you sure you don't want this steak or something? I'm like, yep, still sure. But for the most part, like my family's pretty supportive, and my mom will still ask me sometimes like, oh, well, do you want this? She's like, oh, wait, you can't have that.
Yeah.
And I try to like remind her, it's like, it's not that I can't have it, it's like that I don't want it. Because sometimes people are like, oh, you can't have this, you can't have this, and like trying to make you feel bad, but at the same time it's like, I can have that, I just choose not to have it. Because I've made a decision for myself and like what I believe in, and I can have it, but I'm saying no to it because I choose not to have it. So.
Yes. Actually, like a few years back, we were in Oaxaca, and my younger sister was vegetarian. I wasn't vegetarian yet. And a lot of like our family there was just picking at it. It's like, oh, well, you can only eat greens. Like, are you a bunny? Like, and then my younger sister, she was like 16 at that time, so she would just laugh. And she would also say like, well, I just choose not to have it. And it was like, I think it's still taking them a while to process that we don't eat meat, but we definitely told her, it's like, oh, you have to pack things you want to eat here. Like, you know, you have to be careful with what you're going to eat there and stuff, because they were really like heavy on meat. And it's just taken time. But she was able to survive, so she was good.
You can make it work, just a little extra planning.
Yes, it was a lot.
Do you ever try to convince your mom to be vegan, or like your other family members, and kind of like show them things, or like tell them information they don't really want to hear?
Yes, I think my mom has definitely like sat down and said, okay, maybe I'm interested. With the whole vegetarian thing, she'll be like, okay, I'm gonna leave meat for like a month straight, and she'll break eventually. And it's been slow, but she has been interested. And with my aunts, a lot of them like have tried it. Again, it takes time for them. But since they're getting older and stuff, they do say, okay, maybe it is time for me to leave meat, or maybe it's better for my health. And I'm like, well, then try it. And then they try it, but then they don't go all the way through with it. So it's been hard, but they are like, they're not opposed to it. Like they'll actually like think about it. If we open up conversation, they'll like be eavesdropping. Like they won't say they want to know, but they want to know. So a lot of that has helped. With my mom, like actually being vegan, she's gone grocery shopping with me, so she'll even like try to look for something that can help, and then she'll like, when I make food, she'll try it, or when I have recipes, she'll work it with me. And then like she's made us a lot of like traditional like Mexican dishes, like as vegan as possible, and she actually ends up like doing really good in the kitchen. Obviously, like she likes it, but it's something that like comes like once a month. And after a while, she'll be like, no, I don't want to do it, or like we don't have time. So it's like, it's been interesting with her, but I know like she's really supportive about it.
So she has tried to like adjust her recipes to make them vegan. That's really cool.
Yeah, a lot of the time when we host potlucks and stuff, or when I attend potlucks, she'll try to help me. But potlucks are usually like on Saturdays, so she works throughout that time. So she'll just like kind of break down like recipes with me, and she'll say, buy this, like add this. So she'll try to help me even though she's not home at times. And it has been interesting because a lot of the time I'll bring her dishes and she's like, I really like this, like now we have to make it. So I'm like, you say you like it. And we've taken her to vegan Sundays and stuff, and like she'll grab a burger. She's not a big fan of pizzas and stuff, like fast food, but she'll be like, okay, like I would eat this. And I'm like, are you just saying that because we're here? But she like, it grabs her attention. So I'm excited to see like if this year like changes the way she eats. She's been coming around more often, so I'm excited.
My mom's the same way. She's like, well, if you cook like this for me every day, like I'll be vegan. But she doesn't know how to do it for herself, which she takes baby steps, which I think is really important. Like if somebody is not probably ever gonna go 100% vegan, if they're trying here and there, like my mom stopped drinking dairy milk, she just drinks almond milk, and like I'm trying to get her to like only get vegan butter, and she'll get it sometimes here and there. I'm like, that's better than nothing. So like if you're never gonna go all the way vegan, but you're gonna go like 75%, 50%, like that's better than zero. So we just try to like encourage our families as much as we can.
Exactly, yeah. I guess like dropping like affirmations, like, you know, it's like, hey, I acknowledge the fact that you did this today, or that like this week your grocery list went, you know, it's a little less expensive because you bought less stuff, or like, you know, you're trying to like do things slowly.
Be more positive instead of like, don't eat that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I definitely I like that.
Well, I hope that everyone got some tips here from Melina, because I know it is very hard to be the only vegan or vegetarian in your house, and it takes time to adjust, and it takes the people, not only it takes like you personally time to adjust, but like your family and the people around you time to adjust, because they don't know what that means and that wasn't their decision. So just be patient with each other, and just keep reminding yourself why you did it. Like when I first went vegetarian and it was really hard with people shoving meat in my face, like I would make sure I watched a movie that night, read a book, like watch something online to like, okay, this is why I'm doing it. Like I'm sure that I want to stick with it. So just reinforcing your decision.
Yes, definitely. And finding like a support system, because I feel like once in a while we do need it. We need to be reminded that it takes time. And that there's people that, you know, they didn't switch right away. It does like take a lot of patience, but there are people supporting you in the long run, even though they're not always your family.
Yeah, finding a support group, because like I didn't go vegan overnight. You're not going vegan overnight. Some people do. Some people are like, oh, I'm vegan now.
That's surprising.
That was not me.
Props to everyone who does that.
So thank you for joining us, and if you have any questions or need any more help or information, you can always reach out to us. Leave comments in the videos, leave comments below, or you can reach out to Melina. You can find her through Veggie Mijas. Do you want to tell people how they can look that up?
Yes, online, on Instagram, we're more active, Veggie Mijas. And then you'll find my Instagram, which is like MellyYT. And then we have a website that you can always like look through the resources you're provided with, and we announce events at least once a month. We're trying to do it more often. Yes.
So we'll link all her information below too, so you guys have more resources and support when you're trying to go vegan or vegetarian.
Yes.
All right, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Steph.
All right, bye.
Bye.